What's up, my amazing volunteers? Today we're going to talk about cutting your precinct into manageable areas that we call turfs using VoteBuilder. This is useful to know if you have a group of volunteers and you want to make more manageable areas for them to canvass. This is also great if you are going to do what old school is called block captains, where you'll have a person kind of boots on the ground responsible for a neighborhood or half a neighborhood or part of an apartment complex, that kind of thing. For the purposes of this video, I'm going to assume you already had a VoteBuilder login and have had a little bit of training or played around it a little bit, enough to know how to run a list. I have already run a list for the purposes of cutting turf today, so we're just going to go ahead and go to the list that I have. Today I am volunteer hunting. So for this search, I have looked for either Democrat or unaffiliated voters in my precinct who voted at least twice in the last 2024, 2025, or 2026 primaries and pulled a Democratic ballot. Additionally, I am looking for people who have a DNC Dem Party support score of 70 or better. That means the DNC thinks they are quite likely to support Democrats. If your screen doesn't look quite like mine, you might have this toggle button up here, Explore New Look, toggled off or toggled on, so you may want to turn it off. So when you get to this screen, you should be able to click on Cut Turf. If you don't have access to this button for some reason, it could be that your permission level isn't high enough, so contact MECDEMS and let us know you'd like to learn how to cut turf. When I click on Cut Turf, what I see is my precinct. I can use my mouse to click and drag and scroll over. I'm going to zoom out a little bit so you can see my entire precinct here. I'm also going to scroll up a little bit by putting my mouse up in this part of the screen so I can see a little bit better. So what are we looking at here? Every one of these dots is a voter. These are people from my list. So what I am hoping to do is to carve this into manageable areas. I'll show you what that looks like in a moment. There are two different ways to do this. You can use this magic wand up here on the top left corner of the map screen. We do not recommend that you do this. This will automatically cut your turfs for you. However, it doesn't give any regard to actual neighborhoods, cutting across rivers, going across highways, anything like that. So we much prefer that you do it manually. I'm going to zoom in a little bit farther. I'm going to show you a couple of things. For one thing, VoteBuilder does not recognize neighborhoods. Not everyone lives in a neighborhood. Some neighborhoods are large, small, may have different names. It's not something that is in VoteBuilder at all. So you'll have to get to know your own precinct a little bit in terms of what is considered a neighborhood. You can move this little legend thing. You can toggle it a little bit if you need to, or you can sort of pan out of the way if it's in your way. So I happen to know that this right here is a neighborhood. It's my neighborhood. So I'm going to draw my first turf here. I draw by clicking. It creates a white point. Clicking again. Clicking again. Again. And clicking on the first one. Now I have drawn my first turf. Turfs are simply polygons. They are shapes with different little white corners that you can drag around. Let's say I missed somebody. I could actually pull this down if this person were in the neighborhood, and now they are in that turf. So what I have here is a turf which represents my neighborhood, which is only 2 streets. And you can see there are 14 voters, but only 11 doors, because obviously some of those voters live in a household together. And my goal today is today I'm going to carve my entire precinct into turfs. Actually, I'm not going to do that today because that'll take a lot of time. I'm just going to do the top half. So you can do it kind of quickly and then just go back and change things. So I'm going to click, 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 but not until you hit the last or the same one you started with will it actually create a turf, and you'll see up here what it did. So if I zoom in a bit, I can see that even though these people and these people are close to each other, they are not in the same neighborhood. This one is actually down Highway 51 and go around here. So I'm going to precisely carve off this neighborhood so it's a turf, right? It's a small turf. There are only 8 voters there, but I want to make sure they're all together. If you wanted to create larger turfs for, let's say, canvassing purposes, you could put several neighborhoods together, like this, for example. And the people in these neighborhoods, see, I'm being careful not to loop this last little guy in there. So these are 2 small neighborhoods that I've now put together. I can create a third turf over here. And you'll see as I click, sometimes they, whoops, I've actually started creating a 4th turf here. So I'm just gonna create an empty turf and drag one of these handles down. See, it's okay to make a mistake. You just correct it when you keep going. You can click on your turf to create, I'm gonna move this guy out of the way. Isn't this fun? Oh, actually, I'm just gonna delete that. Watch, you can delete a turf if it's in your way. So now what I have are 4 turfs near the top of my neighborhood. And you can see beside each one the counts. So 14 people, 11 homes, 9 homes, 17, and 9. So these aren't the exact same size. Depending on the group that you have out canvassing or talking to these people, you may want to make them smaller, larger, that sort of thing. But this is the general idea. So I have 4 turfs here. I'm just going to stop here because I feel like this does give you enough of an idea of how to draw your lines. Okay, so got these turfs. Any black dot is left out and is not part of a turf. And you can see that up here in the legend where it says unassigned. That means there are 183 voters in my precinct that are not part of this turf cut. And that's okay. You might only be needing to do one area. Once I have my turfs the way I want, I will go up here. I can click save if I want to work on it later. And I'm going to click save and finish. I will save the turf into a folder. I can create a new folder or I can pick one. I have a 226 demo for demonstrations that I do. Or you can just click new folder and create a new folder. You may want to name it with your precinct name. I will give this region name. I'm going to say Northeast Precinct 226, because that's what it is. I can put a further description here if I like, and then click Save. Now I'm back to my original list. Those turfs have been saved for me though. So how can I see those turfs? I can go to my home page, scroll down to turfs. This is going to give me a list of any turfs that I have cut.